What's up, y'all? Welcome to another session of Dance Tea, where we talk about all things dance. And today we have a dear friend of mine and who's also an amazing dancer and ortho resident, Anisha Anisha Kurukulasuriya. Welcome!
Hi. Thanks for having me today.
Yeah, girl, I'm so glad to be talking to you today. One, I haven't talked to you in a long time.
I know.
But two, I feel like whenever we do talk, it's just really catching up, and it's I almost feel like I don't know so much about your dance journey, so this is very, very exciting for me.
Yay, I'm excited too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course, girl. How are you? How's everything at home and with the current situation?
It's good. Honestly, I feel like since I'm in residency, we haven't been affected as much as other industries have been. We were locked down, or we were closed completely at USC's ortho program for 3 months, and then we started seeing patients again like normal in like June, July, and ever since that, everything's kind of just been normal for me. I was lucky enough to live at home with my family, so yeah, so quarantine's been a ride, just with all of us at home.
Yeah, and you've been doing a lot of TikToks.
I know. You know what? I just like miss dancing, so that's why I started getting on the platform. And I don't know, I felt like it was just a quick way to just, I don't know, get your dance fix for the day, and then I just got addicted.
Well, I love it because you're getting your parents and your whole family involved too.
Oh, they're obsessed. My dad thinks he's TikTok famous. He's on another one right now. He has like a few videos with me on TikTok, and he asked to check the views and the likes maybe like once a week. So I've never seen anyone as social media crazy in our family as my dad is right now. So
What's up? Which one's his favorite?
He really loves the one of him dancing with me, which is like, it's cute. It was like one of the very first ones I did. And he like put extensions on. So he was, mimicking my hairography. So I don't know. I think it's a fun moment for him. So
yeah, it's super fun. Has he thought about creating his own account?
No, but actually, so doing all these dances made us like just start thinking about our father-daughter wedding dance. So we've been like just practicing and like dancing to random songs that we think might fit our vibe for our wedding. So yeah, so even though my wedding is like two years away probably, but
probably. Did you guys decide to push it back further?
Yeah, I think we were always going to do 2022. So I think we're just sticking to that, especially with everything that happened this year.
Oh, by the way, Rohan requested to have his own segment on here. So
oh God, I know.
What's
always
up, Rohan?
But
although he might be fun to have on too, because he's an amazing gymnast.
He would probably spend the whole time roasting me, but yeah, definitely very accomplished gymnast. But 99% of the talk would be about things that would be so embarrassing to me. So let's not have.
I definitely need to have him on. Well, okay, I want to get started on this, and I always start off with the question of how you got into dance, how you started dancing, and why.
Okay. So my dance journey is kind of different. So I started cheerleading when I was in high school, and I didn't go to a competitive cheerleading high school. It was just something, we didn't have a dance team on the school, and that is actually dance is something that I wanted to do, but I just didn't have an outlet to do it when I was younger. So I did cheer. And that's kind of where I found, my love for, dancing choreography and things like that. But it's only when I went to college at USC when I discovered this whole dance world and started dancing myself. So my first year at USC, I was part of this like hip hop club, and we just had performances at USC quarterly, and it was called USC Breakthrough. But then my sophomore to senior year of USC, I was on this Desi dance team called USC Sahar, and it's a completely student-run Hindi film dance team, pretty much like involved like a Bollywood dance team of the Desi dance circuit. And for anyone who's been involved, I know you're familiar with it, but for anyone who doesn't know about
you, actually.
Really? Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I feel like, yeah, I feel like when you're in it, that's like your whole world. But people outside of like that dance circuit, like nobody really cares, which is what I realized once I graduated. But I mean, it's still so fun to be a part of when you're, when you're in it, competing with other colleges and people all around the country. So that's kind of where I started my dance journey. And yeah, and it had a lot of pros, had a lot of cons starting at that point. Obviously, it was a lot later in life than most dancers I know. So I think that was a really big disadvantage for me. But I had a great experience. I think it was, I don't know, it opened up a whole world of opportunities for me. And it just like gave me something to me that I felt like I had like this big gaping hole in my life where I feel like I wanted to have fun and do something that made me happy, and things that I had done in my childhood, like piano playing or everything that Asian parents make you do. It wasn't like really getting that niche or like that spot tickled. And once I found dance in college, like that was it. Like that was what I realized, like, hey, this is what makes me happy. I'm so glad no matter what time I found this in my life, like I found it and I'm happy now,
Aww.
Yeah.
And
So
is it specifically like any type of dance, or was it being in the collegiate team of doing mainly Bollywood type stuff?
yeah, I fell in love with the Bollywood dancing aspect of it. But the thing about the Desi dance circuit is that they incorporate all different types of styles. So now it's a very fusion circuit. So people do hip hop, people do contemporary. So I kind of got exposed to a lot of other styles, not trained in the way that, I don't know, I guess dancers in LA get trained, but we got exposed to it, and I familiarized myself with a lot of other styles that were outside of the Bollywood realm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
And how was it for you juggling, being in the college team and in school?
At USC, I feel like, like the first couple months, I think was hard, as it is for anyone transitioning to some kind of like huge time commitment. But it actually like made me really efficient with my time. I was able to kind of like map out my hours, map out like how I need to do well in class, and also give enough time to the team and do well in that aspect. So I think it was so important that I did this in college, because it really set up the way I do everything in my life for years to come after. So even now, like with dancing and with like dentistry, I've always had a very like strict schedule with like, these are my dentistry hours of the day. This is the time I can devote to dance. And it's a very like strict regimen for me. And I feel like when you're a part of two really big time commitments, that's the only way you can really make it work. But it works. It like worked for me. I love having like my days filled down to the last hour. It makes me more efficient with the small amount of time I have for, each individual task. So yeah, I don't know. It just works for me.
Oh, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
I remember when you were still deciding whether you wanted to go into dentistry, was the contemplation whether you wanted to do full-time dance, or that was never really a thing? That was just more, okay, I want to keep that on the side.
Because I started in college, and because I thought of myself as not at the level of a lot of other trained dancers that go into it full time, I had never really considered myself doing dance as a profession for me. When I was in my senior year, I considered it because I knew I was going to take a gap year in between college and dental school anyways. So I was thinking, like maybe this is my time to explore whether this is something I want to do for a longer period of time. So that's when I joined Mystic India and met you. And that was such an incredible experience because, I mean, for the last 3 years, pretty much all throughout college, I was part of a student-run dance team. And
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have, usually when you join a dance team like that, there are veterans that kind of guide you and teach you and choreograph the things for you. For me, ours was a young team. And, oh, can you still see me?
Yeah, I can still see it.
Oh, okay. You disappeared. Okay, that's okay. But yeah, so for us, ours was a really young team, and I didn't have any veterans on my first year. So I was thrown into it my first year, but I was also teaching and choreographing all the dances. So I was like that main person, even though I had really no experience in this circuit pretty much just
Mm-hmm.
because we didn't have any veterans that year. So I just basically didn't have any mentors or people teaching or training me. So when I got to Mystic India after college, Kruti Shah, absolutely phenomenal dancer, and of course, like Amit Shah's like vision for Mystic India, all of it. It was just such an incredible experience, and to be able to like grasp that amount of that level of difficulty and that amount of choreography in such a short span of time, which for me was pretty hard, was such an accomplishment for me. And I feel like that experience alone is where I gained so much as a dancer.
Yeah, I mean, how long? I mean, so it's Mystic India is basically a sometimes 2.5 hour show, and it's just all dance. How long did you have to learn the routines? Because I know everybody, like I had it easy, but some people you would have to learn the entire show, and you only had like 4 weeks.
Yeah, I remember like Kruti would come from New Jersey, and she would be in LA for a week. And then in that week, like every day we would learn like 3 routines in the span of a couple hours. But it wasn't like 1, 2, 3. It was like 1 Indiana, 2 Indiana, 3 Indiana, like so many different movements in one segment. And I'm used to doing one 8-minute routine, taking a whole year in college to learn just that one routine. So going from that to this was just a completely different arena. So, but it also made me like learn a lot more and pick up choreo faster, and I don't know, get better at execution and picking up this style. So I'm so grateful for this experience.
Yeah, did you feel like you like it was a complete growth from the time you were doing the college stuff? Because I remember you telling me this story, and maybe you can retell it about how your first experience of competing and how you just got shitted on. And yeah, can you tell us more about that? And then how you're able to just turn around and flip that and then come out being this a beautiful, amazing performer that I've always known.
Yeah. So like I said, like my very first year was my sophomore year. And when I went in, there were no veterans. So I was one of the main people that was able to pick up choreo and things like that. So for some reason, they just made me the lead that year. The thing that came with that is that I didn't realize how big this circuit was and how important competitions and things like this were. So I didn't know there was an online forum where people reviewed each other. People reviewed every single dancer and every single dance team on a public site that thousands of people would view the day of the competition and the weeks coming after. And it was more like, I mean, initially it was meant to give reviews to teams so that they could grow in the upcoming weeks for their next competition, because the whole point of all these competitions was to get a bid to the national championship at the time, which was Bollywood America. So my first competition was Bollywood Berkeley, and obviously I'm a new dancer. I'd been dancing for like 6 months probably at this point with this team, and I was so nervous. I had never had any experience performing in front of a crowd of like over 1,000 people. I think there was 2,000 people in that arena or in that theater, and totally froze. Didn't have great choreo to, I don't know, like make up for it. I just like I didn't perform. I didn't perform with my face. I just did the movements, and then I just, I was a weak dancer. So I deserved what was to come, but I didn't realize the volume of the negativity that I would get after that. So that night, like so many people posted anonymously on this website about how I in particular was one of the worst dancers they'd ever seen in the circuit, and like weakest lead of the night. Like everything good that the male dancer next to her did, she would do terribly. USC is like going down, like things that would like not only about me, but me representing my whole school and my team, just in a very negative light. So for me, as my very first experience dancing in this world, it was heartbreaking for me. And after that, I went to every competition, because at that point it was obviously too late to change leads. But I kind of accepted that I was a weak person or a weak dancer, and I was just going through the movements of just being there because there was nothing we could do. And somehow we still made it to the national championship, but overall it was a rough year for me. It was a rough year understanding that, okay, I thought maybe I could dance, but I guess I'm not good enough to be in the circuit. So then summer came and I was fully prepared to not go back to this dance team. I was ready to just be done, find another hobby, join like a, I don't know, soccer club or something. I was ready. I was ready to move on. And then, I don't know, then fall came around again and tryouts happened again. And, you know, they asked me to come back. Obviously I had all my friends on the team and I was like, okay, you know, maybe I'll just give it another go. But in those last couple months, even though I hadn't planned on going back to the team, I started watching a lot of YouTube dance videos online and practicing through that. I started researching a lot of LA choreographers that are now people that I follow intensely and train with now, and started to mimic movements and their style and try to study exactly what it was about them that drew me to their performance. So I knew technique was not something I could pick up in a summer, but in that summer, I tried to learn how to perform and how to grasp people, even when you don't have maybe the best technique and the best talent. Maybe just grasp someone with your expressions and your face and make someone feel something that, you know, that helps them escape whatever they're going through or whatever moment they're in right now, just to come into my world a little bit. So that's like what I did. I like watched a bunch of dance videos over summer. And then I went into Zahara that year. USC Zahara was the name of the dance team. And I was elected lead again. And that year, because of how much I practiced and because of how much experience I had gained online, just by watching other teachers and trainers, I did really like exponentially better than what I did the year before. So my first competition again was Bollywood Berkeley, and that same review site had tons of reviews in my favor and people saying like, wow, this is a great comeback year. Like, I can't believe this is the same dancer. Like, she was amazing. And I ended up winning best lead of the night. So
amazing.
Yeah, it sounds like in retrospect now, it's such a small world and it sounds like such a small feat in comparison to what other, I don't know, honors are in the dance world. But for me and for going through that experience, like that was the best moment of my entire dance career from day one. So it's like finally just like that notion that, okay, you know, like I'm not terrible. I can do this. I can practice and I can work really hard and maybe get to a level where I'm commendable. You know, that was like that first realization for me that I was worthy in the dance world. So
and extreme public recognition too.
Yeah, it was very, and for my team too, like they knew how much I had internalized, because I think even like I think the closest I had ever come, I don't even know, it could have been depression, but the closest I had ever come to depression was probably those months following that very first competition, my first year. Just like walking into every competition, knowing that everyone knew that you were the worst dancer in the room, and like things that you internalize when you're young, like things like that. It was just like a very difficult time for me. So it was like the first time coming out of all of that into this new version of Anisha. So
that was an entire year of you walking into situations where you knew what people thought of you. That must have taken just so much out of you.
Yeah, and I'm so glad nowadays that site does not exist. Somewhere, I think like in my last year, they dismantled the site and they realized it's so bad because it gives people a way to just speak freely under an anonymous name. And if you use your name and if you're actually reviewing people to help people grow, that's an entirely different thing. But we see it all the time on social media where, like, you know, people just like trolls just hide behind fake names and just, you know, go ham on negative comments and things that people who are, I mean, I feel like I'm mature enough to handle that kind of thing right now, but at that age, I don't think I was. And I don't know. I feel like it really affected me during that time. So.
Well, I'm glad you were able to get out of that, because then I met you in Mystic India. So, you know, auditioning for Mystic India, was it just because, you know, you're graduating and you felt like, okay, I need something to replace that basically?
Yeah, so I graduated and I knew that I was taking a gap year in between dental school. So I was just thinking, okay, you know what? This is my very last year. I thought this was gonna be my last year to dance and get it all out of my system. So I was like, let me just join everything, do everything that I've ever wanted to do dance wise. And I had always wanted to join like a formal dance, like Bollywood dance company or get formal Bollywood training. And I was so drawn to Mystic India. I loved the choreo that I had seen. I loved, I don't know, the characteristics that people spoke of the dancers. Like I just felt like I was very drawn to it. So ended up auditioning, and after that audition, I did not think I was going to make it. I think we had a judge for that, and I'm pretty sure everyone in that room just saw me struggling so much. But I was really excited, and I really, really, really wanted to make it. So I think you guys maybe took pity and then just took me on.
No, you were amazing. No, you were definitely a yes, because you auditioned the same year Cheyenne did.
Oh yeah. I know.
Mm-hmm,
Cheyenne is such an amazing trained dancer. So dancing next to her, like I don't know. I felt like it was a tough room for me, but it was just fun. The choreo was amazing. So yeah.
You underestimate yourself, I feel.
Maybe it's hard. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what level I am in the view of other people, but all I know is that I'm in an upward trajectory, which is fine with me. So
Right. Well, yeah, because after Mystic India, what were some of the things that you learned as somebody who's maybe doesn't come from a formally trained background? What were some of the things that you learned either from doing Zahair or doing Mystic India?
I think just being able to pick up choreo really quickly, learning to learning how to deal with different types of personalities, and like befriend people from all different types of backgrounds and places. I feel like that's such an important quality to have when you're a dancer, especially in LA, when everyone's coming from different places and different worldviews and things like that. I just think working as a team and then learning to pick up choreo quickly, even if it's a style that you're not well versed in, was key for me in both of those. So,
well, and then afterwards, and I guess this is something generally that I want to ask. For people who are constantly questioning, oh, whether I'm good enough, am I good enough to audition? I want to know what keeps you saying yes to yourself. Like, you may have this, perception of you where, okay, I'm not trained enough, but yet you still came to the audition, Mystic India, yet you still auditioned for NBA Warriors, which we can talk more about, yet you still do all of these things anyway. What is that? I think that's the difference, is you're willing to say, okay, let me do it anyway, versus other people who may just feel they don't bring themselves up to that courage level to be able to. Do you know what I'm saying? What advice can you give people who are just kind of at that place where they can't bring themselves up to audition or kind of go that route?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that I'll start off with is that you fail 100% of the things that you don't try. So I think that's the mentality that I took on. Like, I know I'm not the most trained dancer in any room that I go into for an audition, but I know that, I can work really hard, and what is the harm in trying? The worst thing that they can say is no, and then I'll have a plan B or a plan C or a plan Z. It just keeps, life goes on. So that's been my mentality throughout all of this. And I think it helps that I have dentistry as another avenue for me to focus my interest and my time on. So that's also helped me. But another thing that I think is really important for dancers to kind of come to terms with is that I don't think there's ever a time where we're ever going to feel like we're there, or we're like 100% perfect in any room that we walk into, whether it's a performance or a class or anything. And I think that's good. I think that will continue to push us to be better as dancers and be, train better, work harder, and be the best version of ourselves. I think when you're complacent and if you're complacent and you're content with the level that you're at, I don't think you would continue to grow as much as you would if you were pushing yourself and constantly questioning whether you're at the level that you need to be. So I think that's something that I think picked once I joined Mystic India. Like I felt like I was in the beginning. I felt like I was back to square one in college, where I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm terrible at this, but I just kept going. I just kept doing it. And then after a while, just kept practicing the choreo in my room. And then finally, like one day it clicked, and then the performance factor came, and then all these other elements that I could play with and make my, dancing better. It all kind of came into play. And, it all started with like a few months of just being pretty terrible. So it's just all the journey. So
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, that was basically your first tour.
Yeah, it was definitely.
And then what I would like to know is, what, touring for Lilly Singh, what that experience was like in comparison to doing Mystic India.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. First of all, I think the biggest difference was that it was around the world, and that was something I'd always wanted to do. I'd always wanted to travel around the world, and obviously, it's really expensive coming out of college, not having a job, so it was not something within my means during my gap year. So I got that, I found out that I got a tour spot in April, which was 3 or 4 months before I started dental school in San Francisco. And it was perfect. I would be back like a couple of weeks before. It all worked out perfectly. So for those 3 months, I was kind of just going to different places around the world with Lilly Singh for her YouTube creator show that she was having. And it was amazing. It was the tour dancers. It was 7 other tour dancers with us, along with the whole crew and Lilly. And it was amazing. It was like we all meshed well together. They were all from Toronto. So I spent a few weeks in Toronto prior to the tour, just practicing and rehearsing everything. But I don't know, just having that experience before I went into dental school, being a part of something that was her fans and her followers and her creation that she's put out into the world was so amazing. And just to be a part of that in so many different cities was amazing. So I think it was like the best last hurrah before dental school. And it's just probably like one of my favorite experiences of my life. So.
Yeah, what were some of the things that you learned there as a dancer?
As a dancer, I think we would be going from one city and then performing and then flying out that night, or we would have like a couple hours of sleep in the hotel and we would fly to a completely different country. So I think it was just like for us, just getting used to the tour lifestyle of no sleep and just being okay with whatever's thrown at you. And it was hard sometimes because I feel like that interfered with us being able to explore the cities that we were in, because the fatigue just overtook us like halfway through the tour. I think when we were maybe in Australia or Dubai is when we started kind of really just not being able to keep up with the amount of changes. And I think people started getting sick at that time too. So I think just like really focusing on your health, just being aware of your time and when you can catch extra hours of sleep and when you kind of need to, maybe say no to going out this one time just so you can focus on yourself a little bit. In that kind of 3-month, 4-month scenario when you're constantly on the road, I feel like that was the biggest thing that we had to learn, was just how to take care of ourselves. So yeah.
And pace yourself.
Pace ourselves, yeah, exactly. And then just not wear ourselves out before a big performance, because also, that's the job that we're there to do. So we can't compromise anything for that. So I think it's also like, that was like the first time I, was traveling as a career or like for a job. So it was just an overall big learning experience for me after college.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I think it just worked out so perfectly. The universe is working well for you.
I know, that's what I feel like. Everything kind of happened for me once I started dance. And I always think about what would have happened if I actually like went through with it and decided not to continue dance that next year. And it would have just had a snowball effect on my life. And everything is so different. Like even like I wouldn't have like gone on that tour. I wouldn't have met my now fiance, because I met him at a dance competition. Like, there's so many things that like completely changed my life just because of that one decision to continue doing something that I didn't think I was great at. So I think it's just a big testament to just keep going, even when you think that it's not going your way. Just keep pushing forward, and one day you'll get there.
Keep
So
going because you love it.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. And I want to know what got you on to start dancing, was it the NFL team the 49ers that you did first, that you joined first?
So I auditioned for Warriors first, and I actually did not make it. I got cut 2 days before the first game. So the next year I did 49ers as an NFL cheerleader. And then the next year after that, I went back to Warriors, and I did go through all the way to the end, and I was part of that season. So yeah.
How did they cut you? So how did they cut you 2 days before?
Yeah, it's a really intense training. So they accept you, like, let's say, I think our finals were in August, the beginning of August. So the whole finals process, or like the audition process, is about a week long. You do your preliminary audition, and there's 2 cuts that first day. And then you go through a boot camp and interview and all these things, and then you have a final audition. At that final audition, from hundreds of applicants, they choose roughly like 22 to 24 people. So my year, it was 22 people. And then they needed to cut 2 people over the course of the next 8 weeks. So over the next like 8 weeks, they teach everyone a bunch of routines that they're going to be performing throughout the season. And then a couple days before, they make their final decision. And it's not necessarily, nobody knows exactly what the decision is based on. It could be luck. It could be like, we have too many of this ethnicity here, which is not the case for me, but it could be what I think it was is like I wasn't strong enough at that time to keep up with the level of the choreography. What else? I mean, there's so many different reasons, and nobody really knows why. But yeah, so I was cut 2 days before, which was really hard for me because I don't know if you're familiar with DCC or like any of these, these audition processes for NFL or NBA, but it's very grueling. And the process actually has changed a lot since I first tried out. Now it's definitely a lot better. It's definitely a lot more, it's not as hard on individuals as it was in my first year. But it's draining mentally, physically, and I don't know. I was like, when I was done with it, I was honestly just kind of relieved because I had so much stress every day going into every practice, like being ready to be tested on every single routine, and then like have to stand there and be critiqued on everything. It's like a lot mentally to go through every single day.
Wow.
So yeah, so that was, and the process changed a lot from those within that last year. Or within that first year to the year that I actually did it. It was only a 2-week training camp process. There was a lot more rookies trying out my year, so the level of critique was a little bit more evenly spread out, whereas my first year was only 6 rookies trying out. So things like that, it was just a completely different experience. And I like hate even speaking negatively about the organization because I really, really loved the way the Warriors treated us. But I mean, it was a difficult process to go through, a necessary one, I guess, but difficult to go through in my first. So
yeah, your first time auditioning. Do you have any advice for dancers who are thinking about auditioning?
Advice, I would say, just don't be fazed by the process. Go in confident. I think performance was a really big factor for our team. Even though they knew I lacked training in jazz and hip hop and all the other styles that a lot of girls were coming in with, like 20 plus years of training, they were able to kind of push me over because of my performance factor of it. So really focus on the performance part, really go in with a good attitude, treat every single person you meet as soon as you walk in the door well, because starting from the person who gives you your audition ticket or even people who are working the front desk, every single person's opinion matters in organizations like these. So I think, just being a good person and working really hard will give you a good foot in the door for these organizations.
Which you are.
Thanks.
I want to, you do. I want to go into now that you're an ortho resident, and how many more years do you have?
So I am halfway done. So I have 1.5 years left, and I will finally be done with school. So yeah.
Finally.
So finally.
Now
It's
you
a 3-year
just have to wait for Rohan.
Oh my God, yeah. That'll be another. Yeah, I guess we're never going to be done with school between the two of us. So. But it's a necessary evil, I think, when you're in healthcare. So
yeah, unfortunately, I think it's unfortunate because especially now we really need people out there. But anywho,
but I'm not mad at that. Honestly, I feel like I would be very concerned if my doctor had only been in school for 4 years after high school. You know, I feel like I need all these years in the people that treat me. So I'm okay with it.
That's true. That's true. That's a good point. I want to talk about your experience, being in the dance world and then also being in the non-dance world. So, being in the dental field, or, how people, because I feel this is something that dancers always struggle with, when you're in a group of people who aren't dancers and then they ask you, hey, what do you do? Has that been an issue for you, of just being able to say, this is who I am, or when you were dancing for the Warriors, or, when you were touring, have you always been confident about being a dancer, or was that kind of an issue that you had to kind of work through?
I wouldn't say it was an issue. I think I've been confident about being a dancer and a dentist, even when I was with the other side. So, but the thing I was very surprised at in the beginning was how surprising it was to, let's say I was with a group of dentists, how surprising it was to them that I would say, oh, like I'm also a dancer, because they had a very specific stereotype of what full-time dancers do or part-time dancers do. And the same thing when I was with a group of dancers, when I would say, I'm in dental school, or I'm pursuing this, they would completely flip the switch, because again, it's not something I guess typically seen, or it doesn't fit the normal stereotype. But I think that goes to show that the stereotypes are wrong. I think a lot of people in dance and other healthcare things or other full-time jobs, they have a lot of other side passions that take up a lot of time and may lie completely outside the realm of what they do full-time. So I just think it's like a stereotype that needs to be broken down, because especially for dancers, I think when I was in the NBA and the NFL, I think a lot of people initially have, I don't know, this cheerleader stereotype, which I absolutely hate. And it is my goal and my duty to try to dismantle that. And I would say, I'm in dental school and I'm pursuing this, and I hope to become this. And it would change that person's mentality of what they think dancers are capable of. So I think for me, like being a part of both worlds was a really important thing for me, to just try to dismantle this stereotype or this construction of what a dancer or a dentist should be, and help people come to terms that both are very talented and both are intelligent and well-rounded and versed in maybe other things that may not fit the stereotype, if that makes sense. Sorry, that was a lot of rambling. But
no, yeah, that totally makes sense. That's so interesting that you bring it up on the flip side as well.
Yeah. So, but at the same time, I think people they don't see it negatively. They're like happily surprised when I say I'm a part of this other industry. But at the same time, I hope to like not to have that time come where people aren't surprised that, you're a dancer, but you also have like a side business doing, this and this, and like same thing with dentistry. So yeah, something I'm trying to do.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go into our rapid fire questions. Okay, we call these 5, 6, 7, 8 questions. Really fun, really short. Here we go. So, do you have an extremely embarrassing dance moment?
When I forgot the choreo in my first competition. just hopped on stage for 8 counts until I remembered again.
Oh my gosh. The
Yeah.
fact that you remembered again, at least you remembered again.
Yeah, I mean, there was only like 4 counts left, and then it was the end of the show. But yeah, I to this day have never watched that routine. Oh my god, it's terrible.
Oh
Terrible.
man, huh?
Next question. We're just not going to talk about that anymore.
Next question.
No,
Yeah, no, I had one moment where, and this has never happened to me before, where I completely blanked out of the entire dance. I couldn't even, I would look, I went in, I didn't know the choreography, and I looked to my right, I looked to my left, and the choreography did not look familiar at all. It was like the craziest thing. I never experienced that in my life. And, you know, to that moment, all I could do was laugh because what else are you going to do?
Honestly, I feel like the way you dance, like nobody in the audience would have even noticed. So I'm sure it was fine.
Thanks, girl. They definitely noticed because I laughed pretty loud. What habits have you implemented in this year, let's say this year, that's made a extremely dramatic and positive shift for you?
I started just switching off my social media. This is kind of like a weird thing, but after I post something, like after an hour of posting, I just do not look at it for the next, or I try not to look at it for like the next like 14 hours or like a large period of time. I don't know why, but I feel like I was starting to get into the habit of like looking at comments and like just kind of like wasting a lot of time like scrolling through social media when I just felt like I just didn't need to waste my time on that. So I was like, you know what, their comments are going to be there like in a day or 2 days from now. So let me just get off social media. So that's like something I've been trying to implement this year.
Oh gosh, I feel you. Have you watched the new documentary, Social Dilemma?
Everyone has been telling me, and I'm honestly kind of scared to watch it, but yeah, I'm going, it's on my list of things to do.
You should definitely watch it. It'll probably make it easier for you to not be on your phone.
True.
I also put, because, you know, we're performers, we kind of need social media, but I put all of my social media in the last.
Oh, that's smart.
So I have to scroll 4 times to get to it, and in those scrolls, it'll give me time to really think like, am I doing this out of habit or do I really need to get on?
That's smart. Ooh, I might incorporate that into my routine.
Yeah, it totally made a difference because I had Instagram on the first window, and now that I have to scroll, like I've put down my phone so much now. So anyway. What did you wish you knew back as a younger dancer?
I think as a younger dancer, I wish I had just taken more classes. I think from a young age, I'd always been interested in dance, but when I was like 13, 14, 15, I was like, okay, I'm too old to be going into like a jazz class or a ballet class. Like all these people are seasoned dancers. So I just never did it until I was like, I don't know, 22. And I feel like if I had just started at that young age, rather than being scared of just walking into that room, like I would have been like so much more like trained and more comfortable in dancing than I am right now. But I'm doing what I can now. I've fully accepted it. But if I could give any advice to myself, like 20 or when I was younger, that's the advice I would give. Just train, take as many classes as you can, and then there's so many teachers, especially now in online format, to learn from. And I just feel like,
oh my gosh,
tap into that as much as you can, because this is the time to learn. So
yeah, whose classes are you taking? Are you taking anyone's classes right now?
I'm starting to take like Hamilton Evans and Dana Alexa, and like those are the ones that I was like looking into in the beginning of quarantine. But the online format I'm kind of struggling with, to be honest. I live with 4 other people too, and it's always hard to find like a dance space in our house that's unoccupied. So I've had like a lot of other issues, but I try to like look at tutorials online and try to, like learn from choreographers that I like. So yeah. And then I got my TikTok dances. So
yeah, TikTok dances.
Yeah.
Well, I think your TikTok dances are amazing. How long do they take you to do them? I guess it depends on each one, but typically.
Yeah, I think if there's like a wardrobe change, it takes a little bit longer. But if it's just a normal dance, it would take me like half an hour. Yeah. Yeah. If
Yeah.
it's just a minute. So.
Right. But then, all the outfit changes take forever.
Yeah, outfit changes take like a couple hours. So not going to lie.
I can't believe how like people go in on the outfit changes. I mean, it's amazing. Like I love it.
I love it. I feel like it's like doing costume changes for performance. Like that's what it feels like for me. Like being able to embody different characters, So
right. I definitely need to do TikTok. One day I will do.
You're gonna do it. You would fall in love with the platform. So
I feel like I know I would. I know once I do like an outfit change one, I'll probably get super addicted to it, which is probably why I haven't done it yet. But.
Well, there's
okay, what are some of the biggest, or maybe just one, challenge that you faced in your life that's, in hindsight has kind of set you up for success, or, when looking back, it's more of a blessing in disguise?
I think the two that jump out at me is that one dance competition where I did really poorly. That 1 year, that was really rough for me. I think just going through that and then coming out of it and then becoming a better dancer, all within the same dance circuit, the same team, just like pushing myself to be a better version of what I was putting out there. I think going through that whole process just kind of set me up for anything in life, in the sense that, okay, if I put enough work into something that I really, really want to achieve, like there's a good chance that I can achieve it. So like, I think that going through that, I guess, failure has brought me, like, that was like a really big learning experience for a lot of other aspects of my life.
What are the most, or let's say top 3 most important things that are happening, for you in your life right now?
Top 3? It's a little hard. COVID, everything is kind of in a stalemate, but I don't know. I think I'm really enjoying orthodontics. I go into every single day being so excited to see the patients that I'm going to see that day, hearing the updates on their life in the last month since I've last seen them, just like understanding the mechanics and the things that we're doing orthodontically to help achieve the results that we want in a perfect smile, things like that. I feel like I'm really achieving a lot more than maybe I was in my first year of ortho residency. So that's been exciting for me, just kind of going through that change and being able to pay it forward for the first year residents. And then, I don't know, other than that, I mean, that's like kind of the thing I've been doing every single day. Everything else is kind of in a, like, just on hold right now for COVID.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Oh my gosh, girl, I'm supposed to get my braces off this month.
Oh my God, I'm starting mine in...
You're getting braces?
I am. It's going to be the hidden braces too, so.
Oh, the ones in the back. How long have you had it for? Your teeth are perfectly straight.
No, there's like a few things I want to change. I don't know. When you stare at teeth all day, you have like this perfect dimensions that you want to achieve, and that's what I want to do. So yeah, I'm crazy.
So you're gonna have it in the top and the bottom?
Yeah.
It's great because you can't see, obviously, like in the bottom I have them on the outside, but man, that first couple of months it really cuts up your tongue.
That's what everyone's saying. Everyone's preparing me for the first, like, they said a couple weeks, so I'm curious to see if it's a couple months, but
I think it just really depends on how sensitive your mouth is and your tongue is, and what kind of foods you eat on a regular basis. But yeah, and then the cleaning takes longer, obviously. But I'm cool with it. I'm supposed to. Anyway, you're invited to my crunchy party. I'm having a crunchy party, and it's because we're gonna eat everything crunchy that I couldn't eat in the past 2 years.
All the popcorn with lots of sauces. I'm down.
All right, back to I have 2 more questions left for you.
Okay.
3. What's the best piece of advice you've gotten?
Best piece of advice I've gotten is probably what I've reiterated so far, is just to work really, 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 really hard, and you might achieve the things that you want to achieve in life. I say might only just because I'm like kind of that person who's a little bit more realistic. Like obviously, if I work really, 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 really hard at becoming president right now, it's probably not likely. Things like that. So like the things within my realm, within our capabilities, I feel like if you really apply yourself and focus on achieving that goal, you can do it. So I think that's a big thing.
I don't know, girl. I totally think you can be president.
I don't know. I don't think I would want the job, seeing
Yeah.
the things that they've gone through, but
Oh my gosh.
we'll see.
Let's hope this week goes really well for everyone.
Yes. Praying for good things in the universe.
What's the worst advice you've ever gotten?
The worst advice I've ever gotten is to not go for something because I wasn't at the weight that I should be prior to entering that. So I think when I was first like looking into NBA, NFL, I didn't have abs, honestly. I don't think I've ever had abs, but that was like something that was, and it wasn't even from someone in the organization that was advising me. There was someone outside who was saying, oh, like you should, like you're probably like not like the type of look that like would work. That's probably the only thing that's going against you. And when I actually went into auditioning, my look was not the problem. But even just like having someone say that to me, it was like, oh my God, like then it was like in my head, I was trying to figure out whether I needed to, lose weight and like tone and things that honestly, like looking back, like 100% did not need to worry about. So I think like coming out of that, like if you're happy with yourself, if you look in the mirror and you feel like you're happy and healthy, like you don't need to listen to anyone else's opinion of you. Yours is the only one that matters when it comes to your look. So
Agreed.
Yeah.
One last question. Do you have any other advice besides what you've given to the younger generation of dancers?
I think that the number one advice is just to train and take advantage of all the teachers and the mentors that are around us. Like I feel like that's the only way you grow as a dancer, as an individual. And it doesn't actually necessarily need to be in dancing. It could be in whatever profession. Take advantage of getting to know people who are in the industry or in the field that you want to get into. And just networking and just being a part of that industry will help you get in. If that makes sense. So I think
No, absolutely.
That's like the number one thing I would say is to just train, take as many dance classes as you can, and work hard. So
thanks so much, Anisha. I hope we get some dancers who are inspired to go out and, well, not audition right now, but you can virtually.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
On social media, they can find me at Anisha Kula. And then I guess on TikTok, you can find me at Anisha K with 2 Y's. So, yeah.
Anisha, is it Anisha Kurukulasuriya or is it Anisha Kurukulasuriya?
It's Anisha Kurukulasuriya.
Kurukulasuriya. I think people just need to pronounce your name and that's it. Kurukulasuriya.
They used to type that out every single time. Yeah.
It's my favorite last name.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks, Anisha girl. Well, I definitely need to come over because I need to learn some Sri Lankan cuisine cooking from your grandma.
Yes, I've been telling my grandma every day, and she's ready. She knows it needs to happen soon. So
okay, good. Did you show her the YouTube video of the Sri Lankan cooking?
Oh, I did, and then she got really mad because she doesn't like when I try to film her, so she just shooed me away and told me that it's never going to happen. So,
what do you mean?
She just doesn't want to be filmed when it comes to cooking. I don't know.
Oh, no. Remember I sent you a YouTube video of this? I can't remember what it's called, but the channel, it's all about Sri Lankan cooking, and they do everything traditional.
Oh, I think I forwarded it. Yes. I can't remember what she said about it, but I think I forwarded it.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's going to happen. Thank you again, Anish.
Thanks. It was so nice to see you.
Yeah.
See you and see you soon.
I know. Let's dance together soon.
Yes. Bye.
Ciao, girl. Bye.